Hello and welcome back to the channel, and we are back with another Hogwarts Legacy breakdown, and this time we are going to be doing an in-depth analysis at the gameplay and combat features. If you do enjoy these types of videos, please check out my previous one where I did an in-depth analysis of the map and other locations in the game. I will leave a link for that in the description below. So to streamline this video, what I'm going to be doing is breaking it down into a few sections, and the first section is going to be the general gameplay, and that involves the travel and exploration and the spells that we can use during that. Also then look at the customization that we can have for our characters, and also the progression system that we've got for our character as we move through the game. And in the second part of this breakdown, we're then going to be looking at our talents and abilities and the combat itself. As always, if you do like this video, please consider subscribing. It really does cost you nothing and it helps me out greatly. But without any further ado, let's get into the breakdown. So when looking at the general gameplay, it would appear that exploration is going to be a large part of this game. And from the last video that I did, you can see that the map is going to be massive, and we are going to need to get around that to be able to explore it. So there are several forms of transport that we actually see in this trailer. And the first one that we're going to break down is going to be the broom flight. Now on the Q&A section of the Hogwarts Legacy website, it says the following: broom flight is a method of transport in Hogwarts Legacy, and there are also broom races. Players can take a flying class to master their broomstick flying skills. Now this opens a question as to whether we can buy new brooms or potentially upgrade the broom that we get. In the trailer it does appear to be travelling quite slowly, so upgrades might be able to increase the speed, and also taking part in this flying class and also the broom races might increase our flying skill and then increase our speed with it. Another method of transport that we see in the trailer is via animals, and again in the Q&A section of the website it says players can tame, mount and ride some magical beasts in Hogwarts Legacy. In the trailer we see our character riding a hippogriff. It'd be interesting to know if you can fly on other creatures such as the Thestrals that we see here, or even potentially the dragon that is dotted around the trailer. I'm also wondering if there is mounted ground travel. Potentially the hippogriff can travel on ground, or you may even be able to tame a graphorn or even a unicorn. Another form of transport that we can see in this game is these mirrors that our character seems to be able to manipulate using his special magic. It's yet to be seen whether these are some sort of teleportation device or whether they are actually just a device that our character can view events elsewhere through. Now we know in the Wizarding World there are several other forms of transport, such as the Floo network. Maybe the hamlets throughout the wider map have got fireplaces that you can fast travel to. There are also port keys that could be used to bring you to specific locations. And the only other way obviously is apparition. It's yet to be seen whether we have this ability in the game. There is some form of apparition in the combat, but we'll get to that later on in this breakdown. And the only other possible option that I wanted to bring up is potentially swimming as a mode of transport. There's lots of watery locations, including the prefect's bathroom, that we see, and it'd be interesting to see if we can explore them and maybe even take some gillyweed and explore the depths of the lake. And finally, the only other way to travel, which is probably what I will be doing mostly, is going to be on foot, so that I can experience this game in its full detail. When on foot, obviously you are going to be able to find secrets a lot more easily, and also you'll be able to find the shortcuts that can help us get around a bit faster, but these are likely going to require a spell or a password to get through. So while on the subject of spells that we can use during the general exploration, there is a few that we see in this trailer. The first one we see used a couple of times is the Accio spell, and that is used in the Goblin's workshop to pull the platform that our character stood on towards them, and it was also used to open up this secret passageway in this portrait. It'd be interesting to know whether this passageway is actually some form of teleportation that will take us to a faraway part of the castle, or whether it is actually just a cut through the wall that is specifically there. Another spell that we see our character use in the general explanation is going to be the Lumos spell. We can see in the first scene of the trailer that our character uses it as a form of illumination in dark areas, but also it could potentially be used to reveal secret areas behind Devil's Snare, as seen in this cave here. Other possible spells that we see written on the boards around the games that could be used in exploration are things such as Glissio, which could be used on staircases to perhaps allow our character to slide down them. Incendio to remove plants or wooden structures blocking entrances to caves or secret locations. Also in previous games we've seen the Wingardium Leviosa charm used to create platforms, and we could also use potentially spells like Bombarda or Repulso to open damaged walls into secret tomb locations. Another spell that we definitely use during the exploration is going to be the Revelio charm, and it seems to reveal hidden objects and places that we might be able to potentially loot. In this courtyard scene here, you can see our character using the Revelio charm to find this secret, and in the background through the walls our character can see chests hidden away, highlighted in yellow. We know that portraits throughout Hogwarts require password, and we can see that there is collectibles throughout the game, so potentially some of these collectibles are going to be passwords or solutions to riddles that might be able to unlock secret locations. Moving on to the next section, and that is going to be the character customization. And going back again to the Q&A section on the website, it says players can create the witch or wizard they want to be in Hogwarts Legacy. They can customize their character at the onset of their adventure. As they progress, they'll also be able to develop their own special combat style. Now let's take a quick look at the customization screen, and you appear to be able to choose your appearance to be that similar to a male or female, and you also have some in-depth changes that you can make. You can change your character's skin tone, their hairstyle and hair colour. It also appears that you can change certain features of the character's face, such as their chin and nose. You can also potentially select scars and special features on your character's face, as you can see on the male character here. Now I believe this is possibly going to take place in Diagon Alley, and I have a few reasons to suggest this. As you can see in this Gringotts scene, we are wearing the same clothing that we are wearing in the customization screen, and also in the scene where our character is flying towards Hogwarts with Professor Fig. Professor Fig is also seen in this Gringotts scene. This to me says that we are in Diagon Alley at the beginning of the game, and we will be able to customize our character, pick out our wand, and also collect our belongings ready for our time at Hogwarts. And obviously when we get to Hogwarts, another customization point is going to be the sorting ceremony. And in the Q&A section on the website, it says players can choose their Hogwarts house at the start of Hogwarts Legacy. I think this is great because obviously I identify as a Ravenclaw from taking the Pottermore quiz, and I have done for a very long time. So the fact that I can choose that house is very good for me. However, I would like to see if there is a bonus feature for people who do not want to choose their house, and if there is a similar thing to the Pottermore quiz in the game that will then be able to give you a house based on the answers that you do. So throughout the game also it looks as though we can go to clothing shops and adjust our look with different items of clothing, and we can also adjust those items of clothing for different perks and benefits throughout the game. But we'll look at that in the next section, which is going to be the progression system. So in this scene here you can see that we have the progression system, and there are 5 specific categories. So moving from left to right, we do not actually know what these 2 left ones are, as it does not highlight them in the footage. They possibly could be related to the exploration or the special abilities that our character has. However, this is just a guess at this time. And the first one we do get a look at is this one in the middle, and this is going to be our core magic. I believe that upgrades in this section will be able to improve our overall effectiveness of spells, and also maybe increase our health. The next section that we look at is the stealth section, and I believe upgrades to this are going to boost how long the disillusionment charm lasts, and also potentially the knockout abilities that we see our character using, and maybe we could also have some sort of knockout combinations where we can attack more than one character at a time. And the last section that we've got is the room of requirement and upgrades that we can receive to that. I believe that the upgrades to the room requirements is going to improve the effectiveness that we have when making potions, growing plants, and caring for the creatures inside. An example of this is the T-shaped potion stand. As you can see here, it looks as though we are able to make 3 potions at a time. Maybe this is the 3rd level of progression for the potion stand, and we start off with a single or double potion stand to start off with, and the more we buy means the more potions that we can make as we progress. Our character progression is based around 3 forms of currency. The first form of currency that I'm going to talk about is going to be experience, which then levels up our character. Each level then appears to give our character a talent point to spend in the talents menu that we have just gone through. This will then in turn make our character stronger. As you can see in this scene, our character is level 12 and we have spent 15 points at the bottom. So I'm guessing potentially we start with 3 points at the beginning of the game and then we get 1 point per level. The second form of currency that we seem to be able to collect throughout the game is going to be Moonstone, and this is used within the Room of Requirement to purchase upgrades and also to purchase items within the Vivarium. And the third currency in the game is actual currency, and that is the money within the Wizarding World. In the potion shop, you can see the symbol at the top here for galleons, sickles and knuts, and these can be used to purchase upgrades and ingredients in the shop. And when looking at the upgrades we have for our clothing, we can purchase 3 things, and that is traits, upgrades and appearance. I believe the traits will likely be things such as fire or flinch resistance, so if you are hit with a fire spell it does less tick damage over time, and if you are hit with a flinch spell such as Petrificus Totalis you will be frozen for less time with higher traits. I think the upgrades will upgrade the base stats for you such as health, strength and defense. And appearance obviously changes the way the clothing looks. I'm hoping that means that on each piece of clothing we are able to change its colour, maybe to match our house colours, and if they've gone even further we could potentially pick our own colour that we want them to be. And I find that really interesting because I may be able to run around in my channel colours. So I think it is likely we are going to get our experience currency from missions, side missions and finding secrets throughout the game. We'll likely get gold again for completing missions and also looting downed enemies and chests throughout the map. And the Moonstone I think will likely be found in these glowing fountains. So moving on into the combat section of this breakdown, and we are going to be looking initially at the talents and abilities. So the most likely way that we will learn our talents and abilities is through lessons in the school. In the Q&A of the website it says players will attend classes such as Charms, Defense Against Dark Arts, Herbology and Potions, where they will meet their professors, learn to cast spells, grow magical plants and brew potions and more. Now we do get a look how some of this works, especially in the potions class. We can see that we have lots of steps to make the potions, and I think this will only be during the lessons when we are first learning the potions. When we are in the Room of Requirement and are brewing further potions to help us in our combat, I believe you will be given the chance to do a quick brew option. However, I think you may be able to do the full steps like chopping ingredients and stirring the potions for a boost. An example of a boost would be if you are taking this potion which appears to add defense to your character. If you decide to do a quick brew, the boost will last for maybe 30 seconds. However, if you decide to do the full steps of making the potion, it will last 1 minute 30 seconds. I think this will be similar to plants. There will probably be steps that you have to take during your lessons in the first time in looking after them that will then potentially be able to be skipped in the Room of Requirements, but again it will sacrifice maybe the length of time they fight for you for, or maybe the health that the plants have in combat. Also for noting that there appears to be a brew or grow time when we are in the Room of Requirements. This is quite nice because it's true to game, because obviously potions take a certain amount of time to brew and plants obviously take a certain amount of time to grow, and it also stops us from being able to overuse the powers and just go into combat with hundreds of potions. Obviously we know that plants can be used in combat as assistants, and potentially they might even be able to be used in a finisher style type move when you look at how this mandrake seems to work here. So finally we're getting to the most anticipated part of this trailer breakdown, and that is going to be the combat section. So I believe by going through this frame by frame and looking at it in such in-depth detail, I have figured out how the combat is going to work. I believe you're going to have a standard attack button which is going to be based around Stupefy, the stunning spell. As you can see here, this works as a standard attack and can be used in certain combos as seen here. Then looking at the Q&A section, it does say mixing and matching dozens of spells in Hogwarts Legacy will let players define their combat style on the path to becoming the ultimate duelist. I believe once you've hit an enemy with a few stunning spells, you can then target them with stronger spells that potentially can target specific weaknesses. As you can see in this trailer, we use the Incendio charm on the Inferior, which we know are weak to light and warmth. The main combinations of these stronger spells we see seem to start with either Accio or Wingardium Leviosa, causing the enemy to rise into the air and be in a vulnerable state. When they are in this vulnerable state, you can then target them with further stronger spells. Also, you have a block mechanic that we can see used in 3 different ways in this trailer. The first way is to just simply block spells, and the spell seems to just dissipate in front of you. The second way is to deflect spells, as we can see here. It's interesting to see whether we can direct the deflection, or whether it is just random, and also if it can actually deflect a spell into another enemy. And the third way, I believe, is going to start a counterattack, and this would be if you time the block perfectly. A counterattack then can instantly move our character into using these stronger spells. Taking all of what we've just seen, I believe then this leads into the finishers and special magic that we see. If you string together a string of stronger attacks and also use the block ability perfectly, you will then not take damage for a certain amount of time, and this will start a combination streak. I think then if you get to a combo streak of potentially 10 or 15, you will then have the ability to be able to use a finishing move. I think a finishing move will be an easy way to defeat one single weaker enemy, or potentially a weakened stronger enemy, without having to continually fight them. Also, over time, I think you will fill up a special bar which will then release the magic that our teachers cannot understand, and this will do a very high damage to one stronger enemy, or maybe high damage to lots of weaker enemies. So in this trailer we do get a look at several spells and actually hear our character saying the name of a lot of them, and I will break them down here. So as mentioned above, we get the shield charm, and this is used to block or counter. We also get a look at the stunning spell Superfy. This starts off with a red circle appearing at your wand and a red bolt of magic firing towards the enemy. As it hits, another red circle appears at the enemy. We also see Defindo, and the animation for this is a red ball which then explodes in a red explosion, causing the enemy to fly to the floor. We see Incendio. This starts off with red flames firing out of your wand and includes a red explosion at the enemies, and you can also see a heat distortion effect. This appears to be an area effect attack. As you can see, you hit this inferior eye here, but the inferior eye next to it also has some tick damage from flames around it. Another spell we see is Wingardium Leviosa. This fires a spiral of blue light, which looks a bit like a swish and flick, and surrounds the enemy, causing them to rise up into the air. We also see Expelliarmus here, and this is a golden beam with a white flash. A white trail then flies from the enemy's weapon, which flies out of their hands up into the air. And also for noting, you see the R1 prompt appearing at the top of the screen next to this enemy's weapon, and this is the Apugno charm, which fires projectiles at enemies. We can see this throughout most of the trailer, and this is anything that is around the map. You can pick up stones and explosive barrels and fire them at enemies. We also see Amoebus, which is the freezing charm. This appears as a white circle and fires some sort of frosty smoke towards the enemy. It freezes them on impact and also has a frost effect across their skin. We see the Accio charm used loads throughout this trailer, and that is a white swirl which then wraps itself around an enemy, pulling them towards you. We also see the Repulso charm, which is a blue flash that then sends an enemy flying away and leaves some smoke. And one more spell that we get in this trailer is obviously the Killing Curse, Advada Kedavra. You can see it in this scene here, and it starts off with a green glow around the tip of your wand, and as you send the spell forward, it does a full green bolt from the tip of your wand to your target, and then there is a concussive blast that comes out, as well as a green circle at the point of contact with the enemy. There's also two abilities I'm not quite sure what they are. There's this cutting spell that seems to break through this enemy's shield. Potentially this is a Relatio. There's also this spell that rises enemies into the air, similar to Wingardium Leviosa, but it spins them around, and maybe this is the Mobilio Corpus spell. I also believe that spells will be able to be upgraded as your player gets stronger. As you can see in this scene here, our character uses the Incendio charm, which initially looks the same as we've seen it throughout the rest of the trailer, but then there is a giant aerial area of effect ripple that fires out on the floor and hits all enemies close by. Be interesting to see what other versions of spells we get as we get more powerful. We also have a roll ability to be able to dodge attacks, and this apparition type move, I don't know if this is a progression of the roll ability or a separate ability, but this is also used to dodge attacks or potentially close down the gap between us and the enemy. We know that the enemies can use attacks as well, and we see a couple of them in the trailer. We start off with physical attacks as seen here by this troll and also some of the goblins. It also says in the trailer they can use blasting curses, stunning spells, enchanted weaponry and more. We also see our character appear to get hit with the Wingardium Leviosa charm and also this Petrificus Totalis charm. This is the only time we see it in the trailer, and it appears as a white beam that connects from the wand to our character. Our arms then snap down to our sides and you see light ripple down our character, showing the bindings around them. It appears as though we highlight enemies that we want to target. I don't know whether this is just going to be for the PlayStation or console version of the game as a form of aim assist. It'd be interesting to see if I can manually aim when playing this game on the PC. I will be playing the game on the PC and the PlayStation, so it'd be interesting to see if there is a difference with the aiming styles. Some extra points of the combat that we see is there are potentially quick time events. As we can see our spells connecting here, this could be a scene where you have to button mash to move the spell closer to the enemy's wand. We also do seem to have some of our allies with us. In the Q&A it says, some students at Hogwarts will become friends. As players grow these relationships, these schoolmates will become companions who can accompany players on their journey. Now it's interesting to say that some students, and it may not just be the 3 that we've seen, potentially there are going to be more companions that we see throughout the game, because there is an absence of a Ravenclaw companion. We see that our allies do help us in combat, and we can see them casting spells in these scenes here. So finally, one last thing in the Q&A, it does say that Hogwarts Legacy is a single player experience and does not have online or co-op gameplay. However, on some of the game cases that we have got leaked, it does say that online is required for certain elements of the gameplay. I think potentially this could be similar to what we see in some of the Assassin's Creed games, where you can share resources with your friends, or potentially there could be a photo mode and you could take photos of a school and share them online. So there you have it. That was my full in-depth analysis of the gameplay and also the combat of the Hogwarts Legacy game from the State of Play that we got this month. Let me know in the comments if you think I've missed anything or if you are particularly excited about any part of the gameplay. I do reply to everyone in the comments. So just at the end of this video, I just want to do a quick update on some of the progression that we've got with the channel. Obviously, I've made it as a partner now and I cannot believe it, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support that you have been giving me in the comments section and by watching my video and sharing my videos with your friends. I of course want to make sure that I give back with anything that this channel makes me. I'm going to be improving the content. I have done that already by purchasing some new software and new hardware to hopefully improve my videos. I've purchased a pop filter for my microphone to reduce the popping sounds. I've also bought a green screen and new lighting for when I do some live streams coming up on the channel very soon. I've also bit the bullet and bought new software for editing and also for recording the audio. It is the updated version of what I've got, and I've paid for a yearly subscription. So hopefully as I start to learn it, you will see improvements on my videos and definitely improvements on the audio quality. Like I said, I want to give back to the channel for whatever it brings me, and I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for all of your support. But if you are new here, don't forget to like and subscribe and get involved in the comments. But that is it for this video, and I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But until then, mischief managed.